I am pissed off right now. And I'm going to tell you why on the very first episode of Emergency Rant right here on All Elite Gaming channel. Make sure you like and subscribe and tell me how you feel in the comment section and what you think about today's episode.
This is Emergency Rant with Bezoslice, your signal to vent, shout, and set it straight.
Now, what is Emergency Rant all about? Well, I'm going to tell you how it is. Whatever the fuck is on my mind. Straight up, unfiltered, undocumented. I don't care if you like it, if you love it, but I'm going to spit lyrics from the gut into my mouth and forth into your eardrums so you can hear exactly what I have to tell you what's on my mind. Now, I am pressed to tell you, everyone, from MVR owner to friends of mine in Miami, Florida, the subject that has been on my mind. Now, granted, we won the Super Bowl last week against Buffalo, giving them the biggest ass whooping that they deserve. We became their daddy, and we spanked that ass for over 30 points in the game against the Bills. Fumbling the ball left and right, James Cook nowhere to be found. He was shook by the Dolphins defense, which isn't exactly a sentiment. Hearing a Dolphin fan say, we spanked someone's ass and the 2025 NFL season. Because you and I both know it is complete bullshit. Straight up. Straight facts. And I'm going to tell you why. Chris Grier has been with the Miami Dolphins since 1845. This motherfucker has survived coach after coach after coach. For God's sakes, this guy survived multiple owners. It is absolutely lunatic that bald motherfucker has had more money than me and has survived the con artist that he has decided to con everybody in ownership and in that front office to keep a job for so long. But not so fast. He got the foot to ass, literally, as of last week, or 2 weeks ago, thanks to the Thursday night ass whooping that the Miami Dolphins received on prime time, courtesy of Amazon Prime. The Miami Dolphins lost to the Baltimore Ravens. And what did you guess? Within 24 hours, the Miami Dolphins, after losing 28-6, fire Chris Grier. We're not done yet, because following the ass whooping that the Dolphins gave the Buffalo Bills, winning 30-13, Dolphins get rid of some people that were responsible for firing Chris Grier. Now, we don't know who is going to be the GM. We could get into all that conversation. We could chop it up in just a minute about that. But I want to tell you something right now, because a lot of criticism, and again, the reason why I mentioned MVR on this podcast, on this show, and I mention anybody else who is notoriously known to be in All Elite Gaming who are Dolphin fans, will throw three people under the bus: coach, GM, and the quarterback. Majority of the people will tell you that, and rightfully so, the criticism goes that way. But how can I put this ever so delicately? It's everyone's fault, including ownership. The Dolphins need to hit a hard reset button on everything. That's so I thought before we beat the Buffalo Bills. Now, logically speaking, I want to hit the reset button on everything. Realistically speaking, sit back, put that seatbelt super tight, because you're going to be going and getting involved with a bunch of car crashes for the next couple of years. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are hitting the new tandem of Miami Dolphins football. It's called cap hell. How much cap hell are the Miami Dolphins in, you say? MVR is not going to like this, and no Dolphin fans are going to like this. We are 9th in the league, ladies and gentlemen. 9th in the league in dead cap. This season alone, even when we traded Jalen Phillips, by the way, case you're wondering, the Dolphins had to eat up a bulk of that salary just so he could move and get the 3rd round pick. Now watch Jalen Phillips go off like a fat guy at a buffet and get 10 sacks this season. The Miami Dolphins are $71 million over in dead cap. You heard me correctly. $71 million in dead cap. We only have over $4.5 million in cap space currently, which isn't going to amount to shit this season or even next season. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that dead cap is going to go higher because Tua. And I will get into this marquee conversation about Tua in just a second. But the Miami Dolphins have so much dead cap that I would probably say the economy in the United States is on a better trend on moving upwards towards saving people money than losing people money that the Miami Dolphins have killed the fan base and the season ticket holders for the last 5+ years. Now, granted, let's give flowers where flowers is due. Okay? Dolphins haven't sniffed a playoff appearance before Mike McDaniel's appearance in God knows how long. I would probably say off the top of rip, Chad Pennington was maybe the last quarterback that took the Dolphins. Ryan Tannehill was the last quarterback that took the Miami Dolphins to the playoffs. He didn't even play the game. Didn't even play because he was injured. Matt Moore was the guy. And we got our ass kicked against the Pittsburgh Steelers at Heinz Field. Home of the worst catch-up known to man. You can fight me and at me all you want, but you know I'm right. Anyways, point being is, it's been a minute since the Miami Dolphins have been in the postseason. Up to that point. Then in comes Mike McDaniel. Smooth operator, dorky-ass kid. Knows that if you give him a math question, he can answer it on the spot. But also know he can steal your mom. Because he's the MILF hunter. Mr. Mike McDaniel. Looking like a anorexic version of Don Shula. Comes in and coaches this team, and then we strike gold and we get Tyreek Hill, we get Jalen Waddle, we get Bradley Chubb, we get all these cats. And then what ended up happening? They backed up the Brinks truck like a chick backing her ass up in the club. They paid a whole shitload of money. And what ended up happening? The Miami Dolphins had one or two choices. They can put up or they can shut up. And yes, it was magical. I think MV and everybody else, and anybody who's watching this that's a Miami Dolphin fan or admire the team from a distance, it was magical. 1.2 was an MVP candidate. The Dolphins look like perennial Super Bowl contenders, arguably. But then the first year that we made the postseason, we barely got in. Tua had 6 concussions, 3 or 4 concussions on record. And then it went to crap after that. Because a 7th round pick quarterback led the team to play against the Buffalo Bills, which we almost won. Then fast forward the following year. Tua was healthy. Oh, everything was hunky-dory. Then by week 6, everything went to shit. Because we scratched and clawed and got into the playoffs because everybody was injured. It got so bad that we hired and signed 2 players off the couch just days before the playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs. We had so many injuries. And we got our butts handed to us by the Kansas City Chiefs. Fast forward to last year. Everybody, and I mean everybody, was like, okay, this team is set. If they stay healthy, they're gonna do great. You had that question mark about Tua's contract, which I think anybody in their right mind said, okay, Tua deserves a bigger contract. Now, The argument split because people were saying, does Tua deserve to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks, or does Tua deserve to be somewhere in the middle, or just honor his contract and then, go from there? Well, we're going to get into that topic in just a second because I know this is going to go all over the place. The reality is that the Miami Dolphins have been in a destructive car crash derby that has been nonstop crash after crash after crash after crash. Injuries do happen in the National Football League. This is the most brutal sport next to hockey in any sport in the world. It is professional football. Point blank, plain and simple. That is factual. The problem here is, and the reason why I'm blaming everyone, is because everybody played a part. Now, Tua, as much, and I will say this, and I'll be the first to admit it. When we first drafted Tua, I wasn't head over heels over him, but I felt like he was the quintessential answer to our problems at quarterback. He was going to help this team be better. And there was already a debate between him and Justin Herbert, which I think we know who the better quarterback is at this point. And obviously, it is Justin Herbert. But it's not by much, because I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment and tell you Tua is the worst quarterback to wear the aqua and orange, because he's not. He's not the best. Obviously, we know who the best quarterback is. Damn the man Marino. To ever wear the aqua and orange. But I would say Tua, and I'm basing this on statistics, Tua is one of the top 5 quarterbacks to ever wear a Dolphins uniform in franchise history, based on stats alone. Now, keep in mind, I believe if he didn't have the hip issue, which obviously I think anybody with a brain that watched college football into a senior year, we knew that Joe Burrow was balling with LSU. But if Tua didn't have that crazy-ass injury against Ole Miss, arguably it could have been between Tua and Burrow for the number 1 or number 2 pick, respectively. That's just factual. I think that Tua should have not been the highest paid quarterback. He should have been maybe getting somewhere between half of what he's getting. Because right now, I'll put it to you like this. Tua is getting over $30 million this season alone. $30 million. You heard me correctly. If I go into next season, that jumps up 3 times that amount.
Introducing Cocaine Cola, sparkling cola with real coca leaf extract for a lift that tastes as good as it feels.
Smooth, cold.
Yeah! Taste the real thing, bitch! Yeah! Taste the real thing, bitch! Yeah! Taste the real thing, bitch! Yeah!
And it wakes me right up.
One crisp sip, instant clarity.
Cocaine.
What is up, virgins and virgins?
In a city starving for power, light had one last source. A scalp polished to perfection, turning daylight into destiny. They worship the shine, and when darkness rises...
Dad, we're out of milk.
Then, there's only one thing left to do.
I will be back.
One man, one mission, 1% milk for breakfast. For my kid.
Based on what you have seen, based on how he has performed, not just this year, but also adding the injuries, do you think he deserves to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the National Football League? No. And obviously, I can make an argument for that from a fan's perspective, but from a business NFL perspective. The reason why Tua got that money is because it was the market value for good to elite quarterbacks. Tua is not the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League, and neither it is Patrick Mahomes. Ladies and gentlemen, there are other quarterbacks in the National Football League that are making more money than Tua. But Tua should not even be in that combo. We can't go back to the future, we can't go back to the past and look at what happened with this franchise and where we went wrong. All we can do is focus on now. I had this conversation with a couple of Dolphin fans, including my producer, MVR owner, shout out to him. But the fact of the matter is this. People are asking, what can we do from here? Well, let's start off with the fact that they fired Chris Grier as the general manager. Now, who is going to replace Chris Grier as the general manager for the Miami Dolphins? To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't care, and I don't know. I would say, personally for me, I would love ESPN analyst Louis Riddick, who has phenomenal football knowledge, who has applied for a general manager position before and for some reason has never gotten it. Give him the opportunity that the Raiders gave Mike Mayock when he became the general manager around the time that they hired Chucky as the head coach. And they also had Antonio Brown on that team just for the preseason. Okay? Give him the opportunity to be the GM. Or keep the guy that we have as the interim and take the interim off and give him at least a 2-year contract and see what he does. The fact of the matter is that I don't know who's going to be the next general manager for the Miami Dolphins, and that's fine. The next head coach of the Miami Dolphins, that's something that we need to talk about. Now, based on what I was hearing from people that cover this franchise, the Miami Dolphins were looking at letting go of McDaniel at the end of the season, or if they went on this terrible stint against Buffalo and then went up to Madrid against Washington, then you're looking at, before the Saints game, McDaniel getting possibly fired. Obviously, the Bills lost badly to Miami 30-13. And now Miami goes to Madrid to face the Commanders on the road. The last international game of the year, which, don't get me wrong, I love football, but I'm not setting my alarm clock to wake up at 8:30 in the morning on a Sunday when I want to sleep. I'm sorry. I'll sleep in. I'm old, sue me. I don't give a crap. Suck my ass, okay? The point of the matter is that you look at the remaining schedule of the Miami Dolphins, and outside of maybe 2 games, the Dolphins legitimately can win the next 5 games of the regular season. You have the Commanders, you have the Saints, then you have the Jets, then you have the Steelers, then you have the Bengals. And the 2 games that I can honestly tell you is not going to be a winnable game for Miami is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New England Patriots to end the season. Now, what happens if Miami goes on a winning streak before the Tampa game and they win 7 straight games? You're looking at a franchise that is going to keep Mike McDaniel. I'm telling you this, sit back and enjoy this ride, this bumper car crash ride of a shit show for the next couple years, because we are in cap hell. The only way the Dolphins are going to relieve cap money next season, and you look at the cap stats, is if post June 1st they get rid of Bradley Chubb, the Dolphins can save $12 million in cap space. They get rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick and trade him Then you go ahead and you get Tyreek Hill and you cut him post June 1st. Nick Westbrook, cut him post June 1st. You have Eric Engel, cut him post June 1st. The Miami Dolphins can literally be from $30 million over the cap. And if they trade Tua, even though they're going to hit that dead money, the Miami Dolphins can be $30 million under the cap. Now, is that going to make the Dolphins get a splashy name in free agency? No, it's not, because the reality is, with the cap structure and the draft picks, if you have a number 1 overall pick, you're spending a boatload of that money on a first-round draft pick when you draft that player. So the reality is, it's going to be long before the bank is gonna, and the Brinks truck is gonna start opening up, and the Dolphins can start spending the money how they see fit without any kind of penalty whatsoever. So I've come up with a solution. This is what I feel like the Dolphins need to do. If this franchise goes on a tear and beats the Bengals, and it's the last one they win for the regular season, and they lose to the Buccaneers and they lose to New England to end the season, yes, I think Mike McDaniel does come back for another season. And I think because Mike McDaniel was an experienced head coach, because he's never had any head coaching experience prior to getting hired by the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins just retain him. And when they let him go, that's when you're going to see Tua let go. I think Mike McDaniel is an okay head coach. I think he's a hell of an offensive coordinator, and I think he's going to kill it wherever his next career choice is in the National Football League. But the reality is, the Dolphins need a coach who's going to put his foot up somebody's ass, whether it's the star player or the practice squad member, and put them in their place and give them that tough love. And they don't have that right now. They got the fun, happy, dad who's dating your mom, and he's trying to be your stepdad so bad, but he doesn't know how to be normal. That's factual. So getting back to this conversation, Tua will be here next year. Mike McDaniel will be here next year. You know who I think will be returning to Miami too next year? Here's a fun fact. Do you know who the offensive coordinator was for the Miami Dolphins back in 2011? The recently fired head coach of the New York Giants, Brian Daboll. Now, Daboll was a head coach candidate for the Dolphins, and he ultimately chose the Giants. Daboll was actually a good OC for the Dolphins in that 1 year. Because the offense wasn't the issue, it was the defense that season. Sperano was the head coach at the time, and then he got fired, and they had Todd Bowles take over as the interim head coach. I don't see Daboll going back to Buffalo, although it's either Buffalo or Miami. I think it's going to stay in the AFC East. There could be another team out there. But imagine if he comes back to coach the Dolphins as an OC. Can you imagine that for a second? Do you know who his offensive coordinator was in Alabama to us? It was Brian Daboll. That's right. And as somebody else who could help Tua become a better quarterback. But the reason why I think Tua should be traded as soon as possible, and I hope it happens, but you and I both know it's not going to happen, is because, let's face it, Tua's hip is deteriorating. Those concussions have thrown off his mental game and his timing. He doesn't have no pass protection. I'm afraid he's one more concussion away from being 6 feet underground. And I hope I'm wrong. The reality is that this team has more holes than Swiss cheese. And the reality is, unfortunately, if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, you need to sit back and try to get as comfortable as you can in an uncomfortable, cringy way, because it's going to be a long, long time before you see success again. With that being said, this is Bezoslice. Thank you so much for watching an episode of Emergency Rant with Bezoslice. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell us what you think in the comments and hit us up, because we got some more exciting episodes. And by the way, it's not just going to be sports related, buddy. I'm going to go ahead and get suggestions from you guys and what you guys want to talk about and everything else. Until then, peace, love, later. Thank you, Bear.